Hello students, today's lecture is going to be on the excerpt from Bama's Karukku, which is the author's autobiography, published in 1992. An autobiography serves many purposes. On the one hand, it attempts to capture and define the self and identity of the author. On the other hand, it can be a document on the relationship between an individual and the larger society. An autobiography of a Dalit writer is of immense critical importance as it gives voice to the oppressed. When that oppressed is a woman, her challenge becomes more difficult. She would have to look at her own life not only through the lens of caste, but she cannot help examining her life with a consciousness of gender. Such a doubly marginalized voice can only be made audible by braving the socio-cultural challenges. Bama's Karukku, the autobiography of a Christian Dalit woman, needs to be appreciated with regard to these phenomena. The first of its kind to be published in Tamil, Karukku moves beyond a mere record of personal life and experience. The personal or the private merges with the social reality, in which the subjugated Dalits have been living and dying. Here we shall read excerpts from Karukku. Our reading of the excerpt would show as to how a personal account conjures up all the humiliation, deprivation, frustration, exploitation, and even anger that Bama, as well as her own people, experiences throughout the life. More than a story of a woman, the autobiography captures the miserable journey of the Dalits, especially the tragic fate of young Dalit boys and girls pains Bama the most. In this excerpt, we get three main pictures: the girlhood of Bama as a bright student, then the miserable life of her people, and the plight of unfortunate Dalit children who are forced to work as child laborers. Thus, from a personal account, Bama's work turns out to be an eyewitness record of the exploitation and injustice which the Dalits have been subjected to. The first three paragraphs deal with the school days of Bama. Despite being a bright student, her achievement would not change her position in the village. It is the convent school that gives her room to grow up and learn. But till the 8th class, Bama stayed at home, studying and managing the domestic chores simultaneously. Bama and her family used to work for the Nayakars, the land-owning dominant caste in Bama's village. But they had to keep away from the caste Hindus, and they had to stand away in order to keep a safe distance from the dominant caste groups. Bama herself worked for the Nayakars in her girlhood, but she knew that she should not touch her master's goods or chattels. She felt humiliated, but she had to succumb to the casteist practice. The Dalits were the poorest of the poor, so class difference made their life more miserable. Lack of money means lack of power. The houses in the village were also arranged in a casteist pattern, with the Dalits living separated from the rest, on the border of the village. Bama's life at her village remained the same after she had returned, having completed her schooling. She did not mind doing the usual hard works and helping her mother. She grew up with a realization of the dignity of labor, but she cannot forget her bitter experiences. And I read from the excerpt. Well, look at the highlighted section. Until the time that I was in the 8th class, I worked in my village in all ways. All the time I went to work for the Nayakars. I knew I should not touch their goods or chattels. I should never come close to where they were. I should always stand away to one side. These were their rules. I often felt pained and ashamed, but there was nothing that I could do. They belonged to a higher caste. They had the money. We had to listen to what they said. However furious or resentful I felt in my heart, I have stepped aside for them, along with the other women of my community. I am not going to read out the entire excerpt because that would make the video unnecessarily long. Bama's personal experience leads her to a bitter reality. She cannot help wondering the fortitude, patience, and helplessness of her people. The next two paragraphs portray the tragedy of these people who toil night and day to earn a living. The caste Hindus, being in control of the village economy, had various means to deprive these working class Dalits of their basic rights and livelihood. Despite inhuman hard work, they could barely make both ends meet. The women were paid less than the men. The survival of the parasitic landowners entirely depended on these poor laborers from the Dalit communities, but they hardly showed any recognition or sympathy. Surprisingly enough, Bama saw that, though exploited and undernourished, her people always tried to remain happy. Their life was an endless and predestined misery. Only death could liberate them from this life of slavery. In return of this inhuman toil from dawn to dusk, they could only manage hooch to half fill their bellies. This suffering and mute submission pained Bama. Let me read the small highlighted section from the excerpt to understand their pain. Even though they worked so hard and suffered bodily pain, our people laughed and were cheerful. This is a community that was born to work, and however hard they toil, it is the same courage every day, the same broken grain gruel, the same watery dried fish curry. It seems They never ever reflect upon their own terrible state of affairs. But do they have any time to think? You have to wonder how the upper castes would survive without these people, for it's only when they fall asleep at night that their arms and legs are still. They seem to be at work all the time, and they have to keep working until the moment of death. It is only in this way that they can even half fill their bellies. So it is a heart-rending picture that Obama presents here. Now the last paragraph. In the last paragraph, Obama hints at a worse scenario to show how the condition of these people has even deteriorated. They are now forced to send their young children to work at factories. Deprived of education, they lose all hopes and succumb to perpetual bondage. Look at the highlighted section. Here we go. Nowadays, poor things, they go to work like adults. At crack of dawn, even before the Madurai bus makes its appearance, these days the van from the matchbox factory will arrive. These tiny crab-like children pour their goods into their carriers half asleep, totter along to the van, climb in and go off to work. They work at sticking on matchbox levels. They make firecrackers and use chemicals. At an age when they should be going to school, studying like everyone else and playing around in the evenings, they are shut up inside the factories instead. There are 2 or 3 schools available for the children nowadays, but these little ones' fate is the smell of matchbox solution, not the smell of knowledge or learning. How can they afford to study where it is such a struggle even to fill their bellies? Thus Bama laments that in such a state of poverty and illiteracy, the fate of the Dalits would never change. Social security and proper education can only help them get social justice. The chains of casteism and class difference have tied them down to the bottom of misery. They need equal opportunity and justice. But Bama only finds pictures of suffering, and the excerpt also ends with a tone of despair. But like all other Dalit authors, Bama uses her work as a weapon, and it is evident in the title. Karukku was originally written in Tamil. In Tamil, Karukku means palmyra leaves with two serrated edges or saw-like edges. Thus it brings in the image of a double-edged sword with which she strikes at the root of casteism. Bama is also notable as a writer of fiction, and Karukku is significant as a cathartic expression at a moment of personal crisis to discover her personal identity as a Christian Dalit woman and to expose the hypocrisy of the dominant caste groups, the poverty and powerlessness of her community in the face of a caste-ridden society, and the other forces of the state only serve to strengthen her desire to work for the upliftment of the oppressed. Well, keeping these in mind, I would like to request you to read the excerpt again, and if you find any problem, please let me know. Well, you can consider the following topics or questions. Number one, describe the girlhood experience of Bama as evident in Karukku. And number two, how does Bama depict the misery of her own people?